Hey guys. So in part one of Reasons Why Your Relationship is Doomed to Fail, you learned about how differences in temperament can cause havoc on a relationship, even if she's the right person for you. Now in this video, we're going to talk about the 4 horsemen of the relationship apocalypse. So what will happen is, if you don't manage your temperament differences or other differences in your relationship that are manageable, then you advance to the next level. And at this stage, there can be a 95% chance of your relationship truly being doomed. So John Gottman is the godfather of relationship studies, and he's authored several books on relationships. And he can actually observe a couple for 5 minutes and determine with over 90%, I think it's even 95% accuracy, if they're gonna make it or not, just by watching them for 5 minutes. And I'm gonna tell you more about what he does and what he looks for in a minute. But as you know, and as I've said in many of my videos, in case you're new to my channel, and welcome if you are, you can't have a successful relationship that's based solely on attraction, chemistry, and connection. That's not enough. You need to have compatible beliefs, values, long-term goals, a little bit of lifestyle, temperament. You can learn about that in the other video. And if those are all in alignment, they don't have to be exactly the same, but they need to be compatible. And you're still fighting and it's escalating to the 4 horsemen of the relationship apocalypse, then yes, your relationship is doomed to fail, even if you're with the truly right person for you. So let's look at how you can use this information to save a good relationship, what could be a good relationship with the right person, and avoid a painful breakup or a nasty divorce. Welcome to Just the Tip. Okay, so here's how Dr. John Gottman figured out whether or not couples were going to be able to stay together and be happy. And he's been studying this for decades, and he's got an over 90% accuracy rate by only observing them for 5 minutes. So what he tells them to do is to discuss a point that they've had conflict or arguments about that hasn't been resolved. Now, incidentally, over 65% of all arguments in intimate relationships never do get resolved. Relationships are difficult. They're not for everyone. They're certainly not for the faint of heart. But he also observed 7 other traits in couples who wound up staying together and being happy. So first, let's look at the 4 horsemen of the relationship apocalypse, aka path to relationship failure. 1, criticism of the person, not necessarily their behavior. 2, defensiveness, never conceding the other person's reality. 3, stonewalling, also known as passive aggressiveness, also known as silent punishment. 4, and the worst of all, if it gets to this point, could be one of the main reasons why your relationship is doomed to fail: contempt. After you've gone through 1 to 3 for a period of time, couples tend to start feeling contemptuous toward their partner, which is basically utter disgust and disrespect. Most of the people he's seen who get to that point don't recover. But there's still a possibility if you both work on the other 7 things and you start ASAP. But if you are doing any of these things, then you need to stop. Stat. They're not serving you or your relationship, and they won't serve you in any of your future relationships. And I know it's not easy to remember these things when you're in the heat of the moment, but you can go back and make some repairs. And I did talk about reacting versus responding in part 1 of this video. So if you haven't seen that, you might want to go back and have a look at that. But in the meantime, what can you do to mitigate the negative responses and accentuate the positive responses so that you can have a happy, long-term, successful relationship? And it's simply to provide more simple positives than negatives. And if you're not used to doing that, it's going to feel awkward at first. But what do we say? What have I said in other videos? If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got. Nothing changes if nothing changes. So if you're not happy with where you're at right now in your relationship, you might as well take a chance on changing something that will have a ripple effect and get you a different outcome. Maybe not right away, because sometimes when someone changes in the relationship, the other person's like, uh-oh, who's this new person? Is this a trick? So it's going to take time. Don't expect immediate positive results. If it's been you've been going down the wrong path for a long time, or the relationship has been going down the wrong path for a long time. So I suggest, if you are on that wrong path, don't go overboard because your partner's just going to be suspicious of you doing something wrong. But do challenge your comfort zone to save or enhance the relationship. So let's talk about the path to success and the path off of failure. 1, love maps. So it's essentially being interested in your partner's life and curious about what their experiences are. It's knowing what your partner's love language is and trying to express love to them in their way. And yes, of course, they should be doing the same thing for you, but sometimes you got to be the ripple in your own pond. You got to start the motion in the ocean or something like that. When you sincerely want to know about how your partner ticks, twitches, trembles, and triumphs, she knows you care. So learn about her favorite things, her fears, her future dreams, her stresses, and more importantly, why she feels the way she does about them. The why is the most important. 2, fondness and admiration. Fondness and admiration come from a place of respect. Without respect, you can't have attraction. Without respect, it's difficult to feel loved. So Gottman asks these couples to recount the story of how they met. And he can determine with a 94% accuracy, based on that one story alone, based on how they recount the story, if that couple is going to have success. Are you excited about it? Are you bitter about it? Can you not remember anything? Do you not really care? Both people need to feel nurtured in the relationship for it to have success. How to nurture? Plan events together that you're going to go to together. Try a new hobby together. Express appreciation in their love language. Compliment sincerely. 3, turning toward each other. Okay, so what does this mean? It means that when we're in a relationship, we tend to want to bid for attention. So a bid for attention might be a subtle hint that there's a desire for engagement. So maybe she comes home and she wants to talk about her day. That's a bid for attention. She might say, "Oh, I had such a lousy day." How you react to that shows if you are nurturing or if you don't care. If you're nurturing, you might say, "Do you want to talk about it?" Or "You want me to make you a cup of tea?" Or something that actually shows you care, even if it might not be that big a deal. It's more of these bids for attention and how you react, if it's positive, that will make your partner feel loved and cared for. Whereas if you say, "Oh, that guy's a jerk," or "Oh, I don't want to talk about this right now," or "I'm too tired to deal with this," well, that's a rejection. The more you reject your partner's bids for attention, the less loved she's going to feel. And again, vice versa. This is for both partners. Turning toward each other means listening, trying to understand, and supporting your partner. Think of it as contributing to the love piggy bank for times you're going to need it later when things are challenging between you. 4, let them influence you. So the couples that lasted and were happy were couples that were best friends and on the same team. It wasn't all his way and she got nothing, or the other way around, wasn't all her way or the highway. It's making your partner's opinions matter, to feel like they're contributing, especially when you're making big decisions. Even if you're the alpha, even if you're the lead in the relationship, it doesn't mean you can't or shouldn't ask for your partner's thoughts or opinions on the matter. When you respect her enough to consider her opinions valuable, then she becomes your biggest cheerleader. And of course, you're not going to agree on everything, and you're going to have to move forward on things without agreeing. But the more you can give each other nurturing feedback, the more those challenges are going to be easier to navigate when they show up. 5, solve the solvable problems. So as I mentioned, I can't remember if it was in this video or the other video, but over 65% of disagreements in intimate relationships never get resolved. So don't worry about the ones that keep coming up over and over and over again, because they're not going to get resolved. Focus on the ones that can get resolved. And in fact, accepting that most of your arguments or disagreements are not going to get resolved makes it a little easier to accept that you're going to have arguments and disagreements that are never going to get resolved. And of course, always approach the problems that can be solved as a team with calmness and respect and lovingness. I know it's hard sometimes when you're in the moment, but you just got to try. Set your ego aside, set your pride aside. You're not going to cower to your partner. You're just going to offer the same respect you would expect and deserve. Oh yeah, and by the way, what to never say to an angry woman coming up, because it's just not effective. 6, overcome gridlock. Okay, so what do you do about those 65% of arguments that are never resolved? Well, the thing you can do is come to the conversation with curiosity about how the other person thinks and feels. So it's more about getting to know what's important to your partner than to actually solve that issue. Now, sometimes these reoccurring arguments are more about temperament than the issue itself. And if that is the case, then you want to watch my first video on reasons why your relationship is doomed to fail, which focuses on temperament. And I will put a link at the end. Now, Gottman thinks that reoccurring conflict comes from a place of unrealized dreams. Now, to me, that's really complicated. I like to simplify it. Sometimes we just don't know how to manage conflict. Other times, you're really not with a compatible person in terms of values and beliefs and long-term goals. But regardless, now he's probably right, but I like my simplified version. Regardless, you're still going to handle it the same way. Start by being calm. Look for the root of the issue. Sometimes it's not about the surface level issue. It's about something else. She, flips out because the garbage is still there. Meanwhile, it's not really about the garbage because she's, dealing with something else. And maybe she feels like she's taking on too much in the relationship and she hasn't had the decency or courage to ask you to help out in ways. So that's a resolvable issue. You can figure out how to lessen her burden. Maybe, I know this is a real life one actually. I have a friend who at the end of the month, she has it's payroll and super stressful. And most of the time she's working 12-hour days that last week. So what would be ideal in her relationship would be if her partner took over the cooking for that 1 week of the month. Normally she does the cooking. So if he could do that, then she wouldn't be so stressed out. She'd feel a lot more relaxed and he would get rewarded in other ways. Win-win, right? So yes, stay calm. Look for the root of the issue. Focus on where you can be flexible. And again, stay calm. But still, when there's issues that can't be resolved, when you do find you're in gridlock, then it becomes more about understanding your partner than resolving the issue. 7, create shared meaning. So this one can be kind of tricky. It's easy for couples who want to have children because family becomes their shared meaning. But if you don't want kids, can't have kids, you're past kids, then you need to find a new shared meaning. And it might be planning a holiday together for down the road, having something like that to look forward to. It could be having sort of set roles within the partnership that you both agree on, whether it's spoken or unspoken. So it might be that you plan a holiday, but together you decide where you want to go, and she's the actual person who puts it all together. And your role is to create a budget for the vacation. However it is, that's creating meaning together. And sharing physical or emotional intimacy can also be creating meaning together. That's the fun part. Now I know, relationships are a lot of work. They're a lot of work forever after, but you don't go to the gym once and then you're fit forever after. That also requires a lot of work. Lots of things in life that are worth it require work. So if you're a person who wants to put in the work for a successful, happy relationship, then you're probably a person who should be in a relationship. And if this is like, oh, heck no, I don't want to make any effort, then you're probably a person who shouldn't be in a relationship. But if you do have a best friend and teammate, life can be so much more fun and fulfilling. Thanks for being here. God bless.